Doing this 8 times. The box with one hand, and then essentially do a reverse grip press with the cable by something called the fascia. And so the way, like a muscle group, so here just me rotating at the waist has an effect on. I ended up not going to jiu-jitsu class because I got a little too caught up with work, and by the time I was done it was just a little too late to get ready and make it to jiu-jitsu class. So instead I'm at the gym, and today honestly I don't really know what I'm focusing on. Like, I have an idea of doing what's called contralateral movements, where one side of the body is doing one movement and then the other side of the body is doing something in the opposite way. So I'm starting off with a combination single arm lat pull down and shoulder press. So here I'm pulling down with the right hand and then pressing with the left. So it's like an opposite motion. So looks like this. Getting the kettlebell into rack position and then getting on my knees, getting a full stretch of the lat while the shoulder is kind of contracted, or no, is relaxed, and then switch. Doing this 8 times. So the body is able to produce a certain amount of force, like while coiling one side, the other side is able to, I don't know, move in the opposite way and create a certain amount of force. An example of that is punching, where you rotate your body or coil while the other side's punching. So similar idea, but this is vertical. After 8 each side of that, I'm doing 8 hand-to-hand staggered kettlebell swings, just to keep the heart rate high for a little longer and get some more volume in, burn some more calories. I used a 40-pound kettlebell the whole time. 40 or 44, I'm not sure. And I don't know, cable machine, the weight doesn't really make sense because it feels like with each cable machine, depending on how it's made, the same weight can feel different between machine to machine. In any case, this is what I'm starting off with, doing 4 sets, then on to the next. For the next set of movements, for the contralateral movement, doing horizontal. So for the previous movement, I was doing a vertical pull, vertical push. This time I'm doing a horizontal pull, a vertical push. So I am going to keep the dumbbell at shoulder level, So I'm using a 30-pound dumbbell. Going to row the weight and do an Arnold press at the same time and rotate my body at the same time as well. Going for 8 and then switching sides. After 8 each side of that, doing essentially a dumbbell clean kind of movement into rotational Arnold press and then repeat. Going for 8 of this as well. Once you get a hang of this movement, it's pretty rhythmic. Like just moving with the momentum of the weight and kind of pressing the dumbbell as you rotate the body at the waist. There's sort of this feeling of your body is working how it's supposed to. And I don't really like using that terminology because supposed kind of means that that's what your body was meant to do. I don't necessarily think your body is meant to do anything. It's given a certain capacity and then you can use it for whatever you want to use it for, if that makes sense. In any case, there do, however, seem to be some movements that like almost like all the muscles in the body are connected by something called the fascia. And so the way like a muscle group, so here just me rotating at the waist has an effect on how the shoulder feels. And so combining that, like combining the rotation at the waist while also doing the shoulder press seems to position things or move things in such a way that seems very quote unquote natural, if that makes sense. So yeah, doing these for 4 sets, then on to the next thing. For the next set of movements, doing something that's not contralateral. I wanted to do a horizontal pull press combo, but instead I'm just going to separate it out into 2 different movements. So for the first part of things, doing seated incline row. So with each different angle, it hits a slightly different part of my back, and essentially the reason for picking this angle is because I wanted to target a specific part. So at the end of the movement, I have my palms facing out and I look away from the cable. What this does is it stretches out the lats a little bit more, especially kind of at the place where it like inserts into the hip. And then as I row, I turn towards it. going for 10. Switching sides. Throughout the whole movement, I'm really conscious about how my neck and head are placed. Like, so much so, I'm also noticing if, while doing the movement, if my jaw has a tendency to like go towards either direction, because the muscles in the neck are also connected to the jaw, and there could be reasons for which your neck or upper traps could be tight, which would then result in some muscle fibers tugging on the jaw. And it might not be a common experience for a lot of people, but I'm very, very aware of that kind of stuff, and I try to consciously rectify it. Then for the next movement, sticking with the cable and the box. So going to, I guess, stay in a push-up position on the box with one hand, and then essentially do a reverse grip press with the cable. Focusing on full range of motion. Switching sides. So yeah, doing that for 4 sets. Staying in a push-up position while doing the chest press forces the whole body to stay involved, and I like doing movements that are less isolation in nature and more gets the whole body moving. But yeah, on to the next. So decided to finish off with some lower back and abs. So for the lower back, just doing back extensions. Going for 15. Going all the way down, and so I don't know. The reason I say that is I see a lot of people kind of like stay up here, instead go all the way down, and And then supersetting that with sit-ups on this decline bench, going for 10. So one thing, so I was talking earlier about neck position and stuff like that, and while doing the back extensions and sit-ups, I noticed something, that my right leg had a tendency to externally rotate while doing both those movements. And all of these little things that your body has a tendency of doing are usually indicators of an imbalance somewhere else in the chain of muscles. And I don't know, just something to keep in mind. Like even while standing, I have a tendency to want to shift my weight into my right leg and also like stand at an angle sometimes. And all of these are little indicators of there being some sort of set of muscles or something of that nature somewhere in the body. And so very often in my workouts I'm doing like unilateral movements. So with the back extension, like you can do single leg extensions, or even and I do like my shoulder presses and stuff like that, very often I'm using a single kettlebell or a single dumbbell or a single cable, all of which allows me to like just kind of narrow in on those imbalances and rectify them. Before I started training this way, I spent a lot of yeah, but you can use it. Yeah. So before I started training this way, I used to spend a lot of time doing like, I guess, bilateral movements like bench press or a barbell squat or something like that. And what I noticed was it ended up reinforcing certain imbalances and just kind of kept packing on a lot of muscle onto I guess crooked frame. And then ever since like 4 years ago, when I started working on my mobility and stuff a lot more intentionally, I started slowly being able to pull apart all these tight chains of muscles. So I don't know, just something to think about. And even with these sit-ups, you can like take one leg out and make it a unilateral movement. Thank you. So yeah, doing this for 3 sets before I head to the sauna. Yeah, that might be it for today's video. See you all tomorrow. Decided to end it off with some posing after the sauna. So didn't spend too long in the sauna, just 17 minutes, but the temperature was super high. When we go to the sauna, or not when we, just the people here, when we go to the sauna, we put water on the sensor to make it come out as a lower temperature, and so the sauna ends up becoming much hotter than the setting. And so it's hard to say what the actual temperature is, but I think it was around 90 Celsius or so. In any case, not looking too bad. I really like the lighting in the gym or in the yoga room over here. It makes me look good. And a back pose too. I'm not a huge fan of the lat spread as an aesthetic pose. I think for aesthetics purposes, you can do a lot of other stuff with the back. This is one pose I like. That was going out of frame. Anyway, that's all for today's video. See you all tomorrow.